The room was stark white, sterile, humming with fluorescent light. A man sat in a pristine navy suit, his cufflinks removed, his wrists shackled in steel. Cameras flashed through the bulletproof glass, reporters shouted questions, but he stared past them, eyes locked on something else. A little girl, no older than 7, clutched a tattered bear and stared silently through the window. His face, once on every magazine, every success panel, the very image of control, now crumbled into something raw, vulnerable. He built empires, dismantled competitors, bent governments. But the look on her face, the hollow judgment of a child too young to understand betrayal, broke him more than the chains ever could. Outside, his face was still plastered across a billboard. Visionary of the Year. Inside, he was just a man who couldn't save her. And from somewhere, a voice whispered, he promised to protect her, then built a world that forgot her. 3 hours earlier, the tower was buzzing. Floors of glass and steel danced with ambition, polished shoes clicked over marble, and egos floated higher than prophets. Elijah Cortez, 40, unshakable, charming in the ruthless way that built monopolies, strode into his top-floor office. His assistant trailed behind, rattling numbers, but Elijah barely listened. His mind wasn't here. Not fully. Something had shifted that morning. A strange message in his private inbox. She's coming back. No name. No sender. Just the words that cracked through 12 years of silence. As the assistant closed the door, Elijah stood alone, facing the panoramic skyline. Not now, he muttered. Not her. Behind him, a giant LED screen cycled headlines, Cortez Industries to announce record profits. But the man in the suit, perfectly untouchable, gripped the window frame just a little too tightly. His phone buzzed again. Another message. You said you'd forget me, but I never forgot you. Elijah didn't breathe. His fingers hovered above the screen. Then, as if touched by instinct, he swiped away the notification and marched to the bar cabinet. The decanter trembled as he poured. 12 years ago, he made a decision. Buried her memory in ambition. Now it clawed its way back. He downed the drink in one shot. Across the room, a photo still sat on his bookshelf, face down, dust-covered. He picked it up. Her face. Younger. Brighter. Dad. Holding his hand on a beach no one remembered. Elijah whispered, I told myself you were gone. A knock at the door broke the trance. The assistant peeked in. You asked for privacy, but there's a visitor. No appointment. She says you know her. Elijah turned pale. She stepped in like a ghost draped in confidence. Ana Rivera, 39, elegant eyes that once knew him better than he knew himself, walked with the grace of someone who'd burned and rebuilt. Elijah didn't move. Couldn't. She wore a slate gray coat, the kind that whispered power, not screamed it. Her hair was shorter now. And her gaze? Unreadable. You built all this, Ana said, voice calm, surgical, and still couldn't answer a message. Elijah replied, I thought you disappeared. No, she said. You just stopped looking. The room seemed smaller now, as if folding under the weight of old truths. She placed a manila envelope on his table. Read it or don't, but after this, I won't be back. Then she turned, and for a moment, he saw it. Pain tucked beneath all that armor. He didn't open it. Not immediately. Elijah stared at the envelope like it might detonate. Memories cracked open inside him, too fast, too loud. The beach. The miscarriage. The fight in Boston. The phone call he never returned. For a man who controlled billions, the silence in this room was unbearable. Finally, he sat, breathing unevenly. One tear fell. Then another. The envelope stared back, patient and still. His hands trembled as he pulled the tab open. Inside, a photo. A girl. Maybe 7. His eyes. Her curls. A birth certificate. And one sentence, scribbled in Ana's handwriting. Her name is Sofia. She's yours. The photo haunted him. Even after Ana left, even as the skyline faded into night, Elijah couldn't stop staring at the girl's face. Sofia. His daughter. A daughter he didn't know existed. He sat at the edge of his bed hours later, still in the same suit, tie loosened, shirt wrinkled, the birth certificate trembling in his hand. Memories surged, the night Ana left, the cold words, the silence that followed. She had begged him then, be present or be gone. And he had chosen ambition. Elijah whispered, she looks just like you. But he knew it wasn't true. The eyes, the same steel gray as his. His legacy, passed in silence, now sat miles away, in a world he'd abandoned. For the first time in years, the weight of power felt hollow. He hadn't just lost Ana. He'd missed 7 years of a life. A laugh. A first step. A word. He clenched the photo to his chest, as if holding it tighter might rewind time. 7 years ago. A sun-soaked loft in Boston, windows wide open, jazz playing softly. Ana packed a duffel bag with trembling hands, her eyes swollen from a night of arguments. Elijah stood frozen, refusing to beg, refusing to feel. You're choosing your company over us, Ana said, her voice breaking. There's no uses left if I lose everything, he replied. Then you already have, she said, zipping the bag. In the hallway her hand grazed her stomach, still flat but already a life forming. He didn't know. She never told him. Goodbye, Elijah, she said, pausing only once to look back. But he didn't follow. Didn't ask. Didn't see. That was the moment, the fork in his life. And as Ana disappeared down the stairs, the echo of her heels struck harder than any boardroom betrayal. That sound stayed with him. It always had. Back in the present, Elijah stood in his bathroom, the steam from the shower clouding the mirror. Shirtless, hands gripping the sink, he stared at his reflection. A man who'd been on Forbes' cover 3 times. A man who once declared, love is a luxury. Results matter. Now that same man couldn't meet his own gaze. He saw the lines around his eyes, the strain in his jaw. Years of drive etched into his face like regrets written in stone. His fingers brushed his temples, gray. He never noticed when they started turning. I became my father, he muttered. The realization gutted him. That fear, of failing someone, of vanishing into ambition, was supposed to drive him away from that path. Instead, it led him straight to it. The mirror didn't blink, didn't flinch. It just stared back, cold and honest. Elsewhere, Ana sat at a small kitchen table, worn and chipped, the kind not found in penthouses. Sofia sat nearby, coloring, humming softly. Ana watched her daughter, Elijah's daughter, with a fragile smile. She had raised her alone. Through hospital visits, night shifts, moments of breaking and rebuilding. No child support. No birthday calls. Just the 2 of them against the world. And yet, she had never poisoned Sofia with stories of him. Never filled her heart with bitterness. He was strong, she told her once, but too scared to look back. Tonight, she placed a small bracelet beside Sofia's crayons. Her daughter picked it up. What's this, Mama? A gift, Ana said, brushing Sofia's curls. From someone you haven't met yet. But he's part of you. Ana turned away, tears escaping. The cost of protecting Sofia was silence. But silence couldn't last forever. Elijah stared at his phone for a long time before finally dialing. It rang once. Twice. Then, voicemail. He didn't speak, just hung up. The cowardice still ran deep. But this time, he couldn't let it win. He summoned his driver. Find her address. I need to see my daughter. His voice cracked mid-sentence. Yes, sir, came the reply. The car was already pulling up as he grabbed the photo again. Sofia's smile wasn't perfect. It was lopsided, like his when he was a boy. That small detail unraveled him. He never believed in fate, but this felt like a second chance disguised as a reckoning. As the elevator descended, Elijah didn't think about his stock price or press releases or morning meetings. He only saw a girl's eyes through a glass wall. And he was finally ready to meet her without armor. The car ride was silent. Elijah stared out the window, city lights rushing past like memories he couldn't outrun. His driver glanced once in the rearview mirror, but didn't ask questions. The address Ana left was in a quiet neighborhood, far from his glass tower world. When the car pulled up, Elijah hesitated. The house was modest, yellow siding, cracked walkway, a worn tricycle on the porch. He stepped out slowly, every breath heavier than the last. He raised his hand to knock, but it froze midair. What if she screamed? What if she slammed the door? He had speeches prepared, 1,000 rehearsed lines, but none survived the silence of this moment. The door opened before he could touch it. Ana stood there, arms crossed, eyes guarded. "You came," she said. He nodded, voice cracking. "I don't even know what to say." Ana moved aside. "Then come in. And just be quiet for once." Inside, the air smelled of cinnamon and old wood. A nightlight glowed down the hallway. Elijah's eyes scanned the space. Bookshelves cluttered, toys in a wicker basket, coloring pages taped on the fridge. Real life. Not curated. Not controlled. Then he saw her. Sofia, curled up on the couch, asleep under a fleece blanket, thumb in her mouth. She looked smaller in person. More human than the photo, yet infinitely more powerful. Elijah took one step, then another. The floor creaked. Ana whispered, "She had nightmares last night, cried your name, and she doesn't even know you yet." Elijah's knees gave out, and he sank into a nearby chair. "She knows me?" he whispered. Ana nodded, softly. "You've always been in the stories, but never the ending." He looked at Sofia, tears brimming. "Then let me change the ending." The next morning, Elijah returned to his office. But something in him had changed. His walk wasn't power, it was purpose. He entered the boardroom mid-meeting. Suits turned. Murmurs rose. He raised a hand and said, "Cancel the merger talks. Effective immediately." Gasps followed. "Sir, with all due respect," the CFO began. Elijah cut him off. "I've sacrificed everything for numbers. And I lost the one deal that mattered." The board looked confused, a few appalled. He didn't care. "Redirect our funding to R&D and community partnerships. I'm done building castles no one can live in." As he walked out, silence trailed him. The empire didn't crash, but it shook. Outside, in the hallway, his assistant caught up. "Sir, is this about the girl?" Elijah paused. "It's about what I want her to remember when she finds my name in a book someday." Ana sat alone in a quiet cafe, a lukewarm coffee untouched in front of her. She watched the door, unsure if she even wanted him to walk through it. Elijah had changed, maybe. But change was easy to perform. Trust was not. Her phone buzzed. A message from him. She asked if she could draw a picture for me. "I cried in the bathroom. Can we try again?" Ana read it twice, then 3 more times. She typed, deleted, typed again. In the end, she sent nothing. Instead, she closed her eyes and remembered the man who left, not the man texting now. He was trying. But the gap was wide. And bridges took time. From outside, a mother and daughter walked past, laughing. Ana smiled weakly. She wasn't afraid of him hurting her again. She was afraid of her daughter getting hurt the same way. That evening, Elijah sat on his apartment floor, legs crossed in his expensive slacks, a mess of crayons and construction paper around him. Sofia sat beside him, focused, tongue between her teeth. "That's you," she said, pointing to a stick figure in a tie. "And that's me." She drew hearts around them, then paused. "Can I draw mommy too?" Elijah nodded, swallowing hard. "Of course, mi amor." She added Ana in the middle. "We can be a triangle," she giggled. He chuckled with her, hiding tears. "I've never been in a triangle before," he said softly. Sofia looked up, head tilted. Then let's make it your first one. As she leaned her head against his shoulder, Elijah knew this was the first thing he'd built without a pitch deck. Just crayons, and grace, and a chance he never deserved, but was starting to earn. Late one evening, Ana opened her mailbox and found a heavy envelope with no return address. Inside was a letter, not from Elijah, but from his late mother. Yellowed paper, elegant cursive. If you're reading this, it means Elijah still hasn't forgiven himself. He won't tell you the truth, but you deserve to know. Ana read it twice. Her heart pounded. The letter described a night years ago. Elijah had flown back from Tokyo after hearing Ana collapsed from stress. He had sat in the hospital hallway all night, holding paperwork. But Ana had already left, unaware. He tried, Maija. But he was scared, and he thought letting you go was mercy. Ana's hands trembled. All this time she thought he never came. But he had. She folded the letter, pressed it to her chest, and whispered, "Why didn't you just tell me?" A single tear dropped onto the paper, blurring the final line. He never stopped loving you. Back at Cortez Industries, a storm was brewing. The boardroom lights were dimmed, and Elijah's face glowed under the sterile lead ring as his general counsel whispered, "You've been blindsided." A whistleblower had leaked decades-old acquisition records showing unlawful tactics, deals orchestrated under Elijah's oversight. "This wasn't me," he insisted. "It was my father's era." But the media didn't care. Headlines spun. Cortez empire built on fraud. Investors began to pull out. Lawsuits flooded in. Elijah stood in his office, watching his stock plummet in real time. He gripped the desk, breath shallow. The empire he built, on late nights, sacrifice ambition, was crumbling. The timing wasn't coincidence. This storm came just as his heart had begun to heal. "Why now?" he muttered. "Why everything now?" Behind him, the office TV flickered. SEC launches probe into Cortez Industries. Sofia sat on the carpet, coloring as the TV droned in the background. Then she heard it, Cortez. Her ears perked. She looked up to see her father's face under a cruel headline. CEO's legacy in ruins. Ana rushed to switch it off, but it was too late. "Is Daddy bad?" Sofia asked, her eyes wide, voice trembling. Ana knelt. "No, baby, he made mistakes, but that doesn't mean he's bad." Sofia's lip quivered. "Is he going away?" Ana pulled her close. He's trying harder than anyone ever has." Sofia didn't cry. She just nodded, silent. But her drawing, unfinished in front of her, had started as a triangle. Now, only two figures were colored in. The third, the one with the tie, remained hollow, outlined but empty. Ana looked down and felt her throat tighten. Fear had returned. And this time, it stared through her daughter's eyes. Elijah stood before Ana in her kitchen, his suit wrinkled, tie gone, soul bared. "I lied," he said, voice low. "It wasn't just work that pushed you away. It was fear. I was terrified I'd fail you, like he failed me." Ana folded her arms, waiting. "The night you left Boston, I was there, at the hospital. You were gone before I could speak." Her expression cracked. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I was ashamed," he admitted. And every day that passed, the lie got easier than the truth. He held up the letter, his mother's. "She wanted you to know. I never stopped looking back. I just didn't know how to face forward." Silence. Then, Ana stepped closer. "You think this fixes things?" He shook his head. "No, but I want to earn the right to keep trying." And for the first time in years, she didn't walk away. The next day, Elijah entered a packed press room, cameras flashing like lightning. He stepped to the podium alone. No lawyers. No PR team. Just him. "Winnie." He cleared his throat. "I built Cortez Industries. And I built it wrong." Gasps erupted. "The truth is, some of the foundations we stood on weren't honest. And though I didn't commit those acts personally, I protected the people who did. That ends today." Chaos burst from the crowd. Elijah stood his ground. Effective immediately, I'm stepping down as CEO. At home, Ana turned off the TV with shaking hands. Sofia looked up. Did Daddy lose his job? Ana nodded slowly. He gave it away, baby. Sofia's brow furrowed. Why? Ana pulled her close. Because sometimes the only way to be good is to let go of being great. And in that moment a legacy ended, not in fire but in grace. The boardroom was silent, eerily so. Elijah, no longer CEO, entered wearing no title, no armor. Just a man. At the head of the table sat Richard Vance, the newly appointed interim CEO, flanked by stone-faced investors. Why are you here, Elijah? Richard asked coldly. Elijah stepped forward, placed a single folder on the table. Because I owe this company a clean break, and I owe my daughter a name she won't be ashamed of. Inside the folder, evidence. The full paper trail, including things he could bury. You could be indicted, Richard warned. Elijah nodded. Then so be it. But she'll know I didn't run. He locked eyes with the board. Do whatever you must. But this is how it ends. And for the first time, they didn't see a CEO. They saw a man willing to burn his legacy for something purer. The room didn't applaud. It simply breathed. Ana sat alone in her car, parked outside the courthouse. Her hands trembled on the steering wheel. She wasn't sure if she wanted to go in. She had heard what Elijah did, watched the broadcast, but the years of silence still screamed inside her. Was this a performance or penance? Then her phone lit up. A message from Elijah. No matter what happens in that room today, Sofia deserves more than my shame. If you walk away, I'll understand. But I'll never stop trying. Ana stared at it. Not poetic. Not persuasive. Just honest. And in its simplicity, something cracked. She exhaled hard, wiped her eyes, and stepped out into the sunlight. Not for him. Not even for Sofia. For herself. For the chance to stop living in defense. And maybe, forgiveness wasn't about forgetting. Maybe it was about finally being able to breathe again. Elijah moved into a small apartment above a bookstore downtown. No doorman. No valet. Just him, a suitcase, and a folded drawing taped to the fridge, Sofia's triangle family. The noise of power was gone. In its place, a quieter kind of rebuilding. He volunteered at a local mentorship program, speaking to teens who reminded him of the boy he used to be, angry, ambitious, afraid. Every night, he called Sofia. Every weekend, he showed up. No grand gestures. Just consistency. He was learning to earn love, not command it. One night, as he tucked Sofia into bed during a sleepover, she whispered, "I like this version of you better." Elijah laughed, brushing her hair aside. So do I. No boardroom could offer that kind of victory. No quarterly gain could compare to the way her fingers curled around his. For the first time in over a decade, they sat at the same table. Ana, Elijah, and Sofia. 3 chairs, 1 meal, no expectations. It wasn't perfect. Conversation stumbled. Forks clinked awkwardly. But laughter found its way in. Sofia told a story about school that made them both snort mid-bite. Elijah spilled water and swore softly, earning a giggle from Ana. The awkwardness melted like ice on a stove. I didn't know we could have this," Ana said quietly. "Neither did I," Elijah replied. Sofia interrupted, proudly lifting her drawing again. "We're still a triangle, right?" Ana nodded. Not perfect, but balanced. And in that moment, under warm lighting and soft music, something impossible became real. Not because they forced it, but because they let it come to the table as it was. Later that night, Elijah stood on the apartment balcony alone, city lights stretching below. Ana stepped beside him, quiet. "You really would have gone to prison?" she asked. "If it meant she never had to wonder what kind of man I was?" "Absolutely," he said. She nodded, looking out. "You scare me," she whispered. Because I want to believe this is real. He turned to her. Then don't believe the words. Watch what I do. Silence again. But this time, it felt full, not empty. Ana reached out, barely touching his hand. Not holding it, just resting beside it. Elijah didn't move. Didn't rush. He simply stood there, letting her come to him on her time. And that was the difference. That was the moment everything changed, not with a kiss or a promise, but with stillness. With presence. With a hand finally choosing not to let go. Elijah sat in the courtroom gallery, alone. His resignation had triggered federal scrutiny, and while he wasn't on trial, his past stood in judgment. One by one, former executives testified, distancing themselves from everything he once protected. The prosecutor read statements from his past emails, spinning ambition into arrogance. He didn't interrupt. Didn't protest. He just listened. And as the gavel slammed and the court recessed, Elijah knew his reputation would never fully recover. The headlines would remain. The whispers would linger. But as he stepped outside into the glare of reporters, he didn't run. He walked through the noise, head high, silent. Because now he understood, redemption wasn't about erasing what was lost. It was about owning it, carrying it, and choosing every day to be someone his daughter wouldn't have to forgive. In a sunlit elementary school gym, tiny chairs faced a paper backdrop that read, "Family Day." Parents filed in, some in scrubs, others in suits. Sofia scanned the crowd anxiously. Then she saw him. Elijah waved sheepishly, holding a balloon bouquet too big for the room. Sofia ran to him, arms wide, eyes bright. "You made it," she squealed. "Wouldn't miss it," he said, lifting her in one arm. "Even if I had to fight 100 reporters." Ana watched from the doorway, arms crossed, but smiling. He wasn't perfect, but he was here. That mattered. During Sofia's turn on stage, she pointed to the crowd. "That's my dad. He builds stuff," she beamed. Elijah blinked fast, swallowing emotion. He wasn't building companies anymore. He was building moments. And that day, in a tiny gym with a paper banner, he felt like he finally won something that mattered. The sun dipped low as Ana set the table, no candles, no music, just the clink of silverware and roasted vegetables steaming in the center. Elijah walked in with Sofia, both laughing over a joke, only they understood. For once, the evening didn't feel rehearsed. Ana handed him a dish and said, "You know you still overcook rice, right?" He smirked. "One disaster at a time." Sofia hopped into her seat. "Can I say grace tonight?" They both nodded. Her voice was soft but clear. "Thank you for the day, for the food, and for both my homes." Ana met Elijah's gaze. No sharp edges. No veiled pain. Just something real. Something earned. As they all dug in, Elijah leaned back and sighed. "This is the best merger I've ever negotiated." Ana rolled her eyes. But she didn't stop smiling. Elijah returned to the tower one last time. Empty offices echoed. The name, Cortez Industries, still shone on the wall, but it felt like someone else's legacy now. He walked through the corridors alone, fingers grazing the glass. He paused in his old office, stripped of awards, shelves bare. Just silence. He took out Sofia's drawing from his coat pocket and pinned it to the blank wall behind the desk. A triangle. Unfinished, but whole. He exhaled. "You gave me everything," he whispered, as if to the building itself. "But I finally understand, it was never mine to keep." Then he turned off the lights and walked away, the door clicking shut behind him. The skyline watched, unchanging. But Elijah had changed. And he wasn't afraid to leave it all behind. Months later, Elijah stood on the lawn outside a small community center. No cameras. No reporters. Just laughter, echoing from inside. Kids raced around the field with paint on their shirts and dreams in their eyes. He had helped fund this place, not for headlines but for healing. Sofia ran up with a paintbrush, streaks of color on her face. "We made a mural," she grinned. "Want to see?" He followed her to a wall where dozens of handprints formed a rising phoenix. At the center, Sofia's, Ana's, and his. Below it a plaque read, "For those who rebuild, together." Elijah crouched beside her. "It's perfect," he said. Sofia leaned into him. "It's ours." And in that moment Elijah understood. Legacy wasn't what he left behind in the tower. It was what he built when he finally came home. Elijah stood in front of the mirror, the same one that once reflected a man running from himself. Now, it held someone new. He adjusted his collar, not for vanity, but because Sofia had picked out the shirt and demanded he look cool. The man staring back was no longer hiding behind empire or silence. He was imperfect, scarred, but grounded. Behind him, Ana entered, watching his reflection with a soft smile. "Nervous?" she asked. "Terrified," he replied. "But not about the speech." She stepped beside him. "You're not proving anything anymore, Elijah. You're just telling the truth." He nodded. "No more illusion. Just honesty." As they stepped out together, the mirror caught one last image. Not a fallen CEO, not a broken man, just a father. A partner. Present. The community center buzzed with energy. Parents and kids filled folding chairs as a makeshift stage creaked beneath excited footsteps. Sofia stepped up, holding a note card. Elijah and Ana sat in the front row. She cleared her throat and read, "This is a story about someone who used to live in a castle but didn't have a family." The audience quieted. One day he found out he had a daughter, and even though he was scared, he came back. He made mistakes, but he stayed. Elijah swallowed hard. Sofia continued, "He's not perfect, but he's mine." She beamed. "And I love him." Applause erupted. Elijah buried his face in his hands, smiling through tears. Ana slipped her fingers into his. The story wasn't just hers now. It belonged to all of them. Later, Sofia sat cross-legged on the floor with a journal open. She doodled a triangle with 3 smiling faces, then paused. "What's a legacy, Daddy?" she asked. Elijah looked up from across the room, caught off guard. "It's what people remember about you when you're gone." She nodded. "So is mine just drawings?" He smiled, crossing the room to kneel beside her. "Yours is love. That's a pretty strong one." She drew a heart around the triangle. "Then that's what I want to leave." Ana joined them, wrapping an arm around both. They weren't bound by bloodlines or press releases. Their legacy wouldn't be written in newsprint, but in moments like this, on the floor, hearts open, futures unwritten but finally real. A year later, Elijah attended a charity gala, not as a guest of honor, but as a sponsor. No spotlight. No press line. "You was so, I'm sorry." Just quiet contributions. A former colleague approached him. "You gave up everything," she said. Elijah sipped his drink. "Not everything, just the wrong things." She hesitated. "Do you miss it?" He looked across the room, Ana chatting with guests, Sofia dancing with a group of kids. "I miss what I thought it meant, but I've got something better now." He handed over a check and walked away before applause could follow. This was the final break from the world that worshipped him for the wrong reasons. He didn't need the crown. He'd already found something worth more. And this time, no one could take it from him. Fireworks cracked overhead as the community center's first anniversary celebration lit the sky. Families clapped, kids screamed joyfully. Elijah stood slightly apart, watching Sofia chase glowing sparklers, Ana laughing nearby. He pulled out his phone, opened an old photo, the one Ana gave him in the envelope long ago. The photo of a girl he didn't know then. He looked up, and now, she was here. Alive. Loved. Safe. He put the photo back in his pocket. Then Ana joined him, her head leaning gently against his shoulder. "Do you ever miss who you used to be?" she asked. Elijah watched Sofia leap toward the sky with her arms wide. "No," he whispered. He left the company, but he never left her. A final firework burst in gold above them, and everything was finally still.